So how did inmates break out?
A vehicle that had been there earlier in the evening looked like they had been tampering with the fence, as well as bringing some items into the enclosed area of the fence.
Sources told us the driver of the blue Challenger brought tools onto the jail grounds, including power tools. They say intruders cut spots in 2 fences that look like a path to a second-floor day room window, and inmates lowered bed sheets to raise the tools up to them.
New developments. The third of 4 escaped Bibb County inmates is now in custody. Investigators tell us Jennifer Barnwell was arrested around 8 this morning inside a home in Augusta. Authorities say they also found large amounts of drugs inside that home.
We'll catch them. They will come back to jail. It's just a matter of...
Show your face! Show your face, please, with sugar on top!
Hey, what's up, y'all? Y'all know my slogan. I don't know it all, but I know what I've been through. Now, before we get into this video, please make sure you head on down to Instagram and follow us on our official Instagram page at Hookah Anonymous _. We're able to be a little more explicit, a little more uncensored, and share content freely without running the risk of having our channel terminated. So, once again, make sure you head on down to Instagram and follow us on our official Instagram page at Hookah Anonymous _. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers. So if you like this video, make sure you subscribe and hit that bell so you're notified every time we drop new content. Now let's get into what you guys came here to see. Now, today we got an interesting story coming straight out of Georgia, as 4 inmates have escaped the prison in what appears to be something straight out of a movie. As we're told, the 4 inmates escaped and was picked up by someone waiting outside of the jail in a Dodge Challenger. And I think it's a Hellcat to be exact. Now, if that don't sound like something straight out of a movie like Gone in 60 Seconds or something on Netflix, then I don't know what is. However, out of those 4 guys that have escaped, so far 3 of them have already been caught, and I would like to talk about this ongoing manhunt that police seem to have dropped the ball on. I don't know what's going on in the prisons lately, but growing up, escaping jail have been something you only seen in the movies or thought of, but these days it seems easier than it is to actually get yourself in there. If y'all remember, you had 2 guys that escaped Clinton Correctional Facility. Then you had the infamous El Chapo escape. More recently, you had the 2 guys from Philadelphia, 18-year-old Amin Hurst and 24-year-old Nasir Grant. Then you had Danilo Cavalcante, who escaped Chester County Prison. And now you have these 4 inmates. Not 1, not 2, but 4 inmates. Now, clearly, all these escapees indicate that there's a loophole in the correctional facility somewhere where someone isn't doing their job in monitoring these inmates. I can firsthand say, being a prior inmate myself, that inmates have a lot of free time to think of ways to do all the wrong things. So when you mix that in with COs not being present all the time because they're not thinking anyone would be brazen enough to actually escape, that causes for a recipe of disaster. So we're going to get into the story of 4 inmates who managed to escape a Central Georgia jail. And for the people here from Georgia watching this, tap in the comments and let me know y'all watching. Make sure you like this video so we can bring awareness to these topics, and subscribe to the channel if you aren't already subscribed. Now let's get straight into it, y'all. Authorities say that 4 inmates that go by the names 52-year-old Joey Fournier, 24-year-old Mark Kerry Anderson, 29-year-old Chavis Demario Stokes, and 37-year-old Jennifer Denard Barwell have escaped from Bibb County Detention Center in Macon, Georgia. On October 16, 2023 at 3 o'clock in the morning, law enforcement says that inmates were able to escape through a damaged second-floor window, which led them to the outside, and they also managed to escape past the perimeter fences. The 4 would climb through the broken day room window and get through a fence that was cut and tampered with, and what police believe was done by an individual earlier that day just for the incident to transpire. If that wasn't enough, surveillance video showed that as soon as the men cleared the fence, they could be seen running to the parking lot where a blue Dodge Challenger was to aid the escape. How the Challenger got there, nobody knows, but Sheriff David Davis would tell reporters that there's video footage of a vehicle that had been there earlier in the evening with an individual that seemed to be tampering with the fence, as well as bringing some items into the enclosed area of the fence. and what they believe was used by the inmates to escape. My only question is this: when the man was seen tampering with the gate, why didn't anybody investigate to see what he was doing to the gate or why he was even there in the first place? But anyway, even though police believe the blue Challenger helped him get away, they are unclear whether the inmates did in fact get into the car. Sheriff Davis would say, quote, "We saw them run away, the car was in the parking lot and then it left. Then we see the inmates escape. We don't know if they got into the car, maybe got into a different car." Now at the time the escape took place at 3 in the morning, sources say that there was like less than 10 people working at the jail at the time, as the Department of Corrections started to make some staffing changes at the facility. It's like the inmates knew this and they've been plotting on this for some time now and knew when it was the perfect time to strike. But aside from that loophole, there's an internal investigation being held to determine how these inmates were able to get out of their cell at the time to make it into the day room unnoticed. The jail states that the window might have been opened because at the time, inmates are supposed to be locked in their cells and sleep. Which is another concern because I can understand if maybe 1 or 2 people were able to sneak out of their cells due to a mistake. But 4 people getting out of their cells and making it into the day room tells me that something isn't adding up on the officer's end and there may have been an inside source helping these people escape. Now, Jonathan Barnwell was detained for the U.S. Marshals after being convicted on federal charges relating to the armed distribution of large quantities of drugs. Joey Fournier is accused of murder. Mark Anderson is accused of aggravated assault, and Chavis Stokes is accused of a firearm and drug trafficking charge. Now, rewards totaling to $73,000 have been offered for information leading to these inmates' capture, and I guess with the stakes as high as $70,000, people couldn't resist to spill some tea, because unfortunately, 3 out of the 4 guys and their freedom has been short-lived, as they have already been caught not even a whole month after escaping. Law enforcement have captured Jonathan Barnwell, Mark Anderson, and Chavis Stokes. The only one that's still on the run is Joey Fournier, who was being charged with the most serious charge of them all. Joey Fournier would be charged with murder after the 52-year-old was accused of taking the life of his ex-girlfriend Cynthia Berry back in February of 2002 when she moved into another home just to get away from him. But here's the craziest part of it all. Jonathan Denard Barnwell was arrested by FBI SWAT team and gang unit on a Sunday a little after 8 a.m. at a home in Augusta, Georgia. Despite him being on the run, he was still into illegal activity, as officials will recover large amounts of drugs that would be considered trafficking quantity from the home he was staying at. This would be right up Jonathan's alley because he was originally in jail for a federal drug trafficking case prior to him escaping jail. Now, either he's just crazy or he figured he already escaped jail, so he has nothing to lose anyway, which would make sense because being on the run is very expensive and it's not like you could get a job and live like a normal human anyway. Now, 10 days after they escaped, U.S. Marshals captured Chavis Stokes in a home in Montezuma. Then on November 3rd, Georgia State Patrol, SWAT, and U.S. Marshals would take Mark Anderson into custody, making him the 3rd suspect to be caught. Now, I don't know if maybe it's because Joey had the craziest charge, but he's managed to stay away from U.S. Marshals and FBI the longest. I'm actually surprised that none of these guys made it out of the state and was all captured in a short period of time, and none of them was that far from the jail that they just escaped from. But I do understand because I'm sure they didn't think everything through. They just figured they'll escape from jail, in which they probably didn't even expect to succeed. But they figured they'll escape but didn't have a proper plan because they didn't expect it to be as hard as it is being on the outside as an escapee. Now, if you plan to escape jail, let me just tell you this, man. Just be prepared to live like a caveman because you literally can do nothing. No phone, no parties, no outside activity, no nothing at all. You can't just casually walk the streets. You can't call your family because they're monitoring everything. Nothing. And a lot of guys slip up because they underestimate the type of power and intelligence that law enforcement possess when it comes to tracking someone down. But these 3 quickly learn the hard way. Now, when it comes to the jail itself, the Sheriff David Davis explained that they have been having a bunch of complications when it came to staff, and this situation has exploited it big time. I'm sure that detention center will be under the fire when it comes to internal affairs when they properly do an investigation, because nothing made sense when it came to how these guys were able to break out. They said a chisel was involved, and somehow nobody heard the noise from a chisel, which allowed these guys to work and do what they needed to do to get away. Not only that, but Sheriff Davis specified that the staff members that we said were under 10 people was actually just 3 staff members total, and 2 which weren't even present on this side of the old jail where these inmates were stationed at, which means there was no supervision whatsoever. And that would explain how these guys managed to carry out their scheme and took the proper time that they needed to do everything that they needed to do to get out of there. However, I'm still curious as to how they were able to get out of their cells, number one. That's something that's controlled by the COs. So it looks like the jail is going to have to answer to these questions and somehow explain how these guys were able to escape their cells, and not 1, 2, or 3, but 4 people was able to escape unnoticeably out of the jail. However, 3 of the 4 escapees have been caught. They're only down to one more guy, Joey Fournier, and if they catch him, then that'll wrap up the whole escape thing with these 4 inmates. Now y'all jump in the comments and let me know what y'all think about this. Do y'all think that, they was helped out by the COs, or do you think the COs had any involvement, period? Alright, that's pretty much it, man. If you want to see more content like this on this channel, let me know that as well. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell so you're notified every time we drop new content. And remember, as long as you keep on watching, I'm going to keep on dropping. I'm out.
Charlotte.